What's going on, guys? Jake Peffer here. Welcome back to Jake's Cinema Room. I am back with another movie review for you. Today I am going to be discussing what is supposed to be the final film in the Halloween franchise, Halloween Ends. Just going to go ahead and give you guys a heads up. This review will contain some spoilers just because there are certain aspects of this movie that are hard to talk about without giving away some things in the movie. However, I will not be discussing all spoilers, so I'm not going to go into every single thing, but there are going to be some details that you may not want to know beforehand. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, check out the movie before you listen to the review. If you have seen the movie or you don't really care about spoilers, feel free to listen on. So here we are, we've reached it. What is the supposed finale of the Halloween franchise? This kind of legacy sequel or trilogy that we're at now that started in 2018 with Halloween. Last year we had Halloween Kills, and here we are at Halloween Ends. And I've got to say that this was a pretty fitting way to end the series. I actually really dug this movie. I thought it had a lot going for it. I will say right off the bat, this is going to be a very divisive movie. There are some elements to this movie that are definitely going to either have people really enjoying or have people scratching their head saying, what exactly is going on here? Essentially, with this plot, we're picking up 4 years after the events of Halloween Kills. We're still following Laurie Strode, who's once again played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Her and her granddaughter Allison, played by Andi Matichak. She's living with her now. They're both just trying to get past the trauma of, the events that occurred at the end of Halloween Kills. And they're both just trying to live their own life and, just get past being part of the Strode family and everyone in the town of Haddonfield just, always pointing at them and blaming them for Michael Myers and all kinds of craziness. A new character is introduced named Corey Cunningham, who's played by Rowan Campbell. He ends up becoming a pretty big part of the movie, starts up a small relationship with Allison, and ends up becoming kind of a town pariah as well, because a year after the events of Halloween Kills, he had an incident where he inadvertently killed somebody, and now everyone in the town sees him as a monster. And it's also about him dealing with his trauma and trying to get past it, and so on and so forth. This is a very interesting movie because there's not a whole lot of Michael Myers in it. For this to be like the big finale of the franchise, you go through long periods of this movie where there's just not really any Michael Myers. It takes a good 30 to 40 minutes before he even makes an appearance. This movie's not without its flaws. It definitely has some issues going on, and it's a bit interesting the way they decide to go with the Michael Myers character, because like I said, him not being a large part of the movie is definitely an interesting choice. But what they do and this is where it's going to be where it's going to divide the fans, the character of Corey almost becomes like his apprentice. And that is where things get a little weird, because Michael's never, allowed anybody to work with him or anything like that. But he essentially doesn't kill Corey. He's basically the only character that's ever happened to outside of Laurie, who, constantly gets away. But there's something that he sees in this kid's eyes that he basically sees himself in, and it allows him to start using this kid to not only help him kind of regain his strength, because he's still kind of getting over what happened at the end of Halloween Kills, even though he basically killed half the town by the end of that movie. They beat him up pretty good at the end of that, so he's still kind of, he's gone underground, and he's kind of still in hiding and trying to recuperate from that. So it feels like he sees this kid as someone that he can kind of instill the evil into. And I actually think it works pretty well once it gets fleshed out a little bit more. Because in the beginning, it's kind of like, what exactly are the writers of this movie doing? You know, like, where are we going with this? But once you get more into the story and everything, I think it actually works out pretty well. I will say that it does come to a conclusion that I did not expect. I won't get into those spoilers so much, but it kind of gives you a twist up front, and then it gives you another twist toward the end where it definitely goes in a direction that you wouldn't expect. But then once we get to the complete finale of everything, you know, we obviously do get a showdown with Laurie and Michael. And I think the way that's handled and the way it ends up going, I think is all handled very well. I'm a big fan of this Halloween franchise. You know, it's a series. This is now the 13th movie in the series, if you're counting Halloween 3, which technically still gets lumped in with these movies, but, you know, obviously doesn't have anything to do with Michael Myers himself. But this is a series that definitely has its ups and downs. But I have liked the David Gordon Green trilogy that is the direct sequels now to the original movie. And I think it works better. This timeline works better than some of the other timelines in the series, because this is a series now where you basically have 4 or 5 different timelines depending on which movies you want to watch after one another. So you can go a lot of different ways with this series, but this, I think, is the definitive way to go. I know people who grew up with this series or who are big fans of it are always going to kind of go back towards those earlier movies, and there's a handful of those that I do like, but there's a handful of them that are just not very good either, even though I do still get some enjoyment out of them. I think this newer trilogy just works better and goes better with that original movie. Because I genuinely really liked Halloween 2018. That to me is the second best Halloween movie, you know, outside of the original. The original's still number 1 without a doubt. You know, Halloween Kills was a bit underwhelming. I didn't think it worked all that well. There were some elements to it that definitely did not work. But after a second viewing, I thought it still held up pretty well, and it's kind of a middle of the pack movie in the franchise. Halloween Ends, honestly, might be my third favorite in the series right after the original and then the 2018 Halloween. This is definitely one that's going to need more viewings to kind of definitively say how I feel about it. But for my initial viewing of it, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot going for it. Like I said, it's definitely not going to be for everybody that is a fan of this series. It does some things that are shocking, to say the least, and some that are going to have you questioning, you know, if it's the right move or not. But at the end of the day, it's just going to depend on your opinion and what you initially wanted out of this movie. And sometimes people put their feelings on what their expectations were before the actual quality of the movie. And I genuinely think they did a solid job with this one. Like I said, I think it is a fitting ending. It's got great kills. It ramps up the gore and the carnage pretty viciously. Like, there are some kills in this movie that, you know, even in like Halloween Kills, there were some gruesome ones in that, but this movie ramps it up to another notch. And even the very first kill, like within the first 10, 15 minutes of this movie, it starts with a bang, and it is one you are not expecting to happen. But boy, when it happens, it does not let up from there. Overall, I would give this entry in the series, it's a solid 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's not without its problems. It's definitely got some issues here and there. There's some questionable decisions throughout. The main overall arc of the story gets a little convoluted in the beginning, but as it moves forward, I think it works out well. Not enough Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie. She definitely does more here than she did in Halloween Kills, so I do like that she gets more to do in this movie. However, for it to be the finale of the series, it would have been nice to get a bit more of her and a bit more of Michael himself too. Annie Matichak is great again once as Alice. Allison, I think she does a great job. And this new guy that's playing the new character, Rowan Campbell, I think he puts in a very good performance. And a lot of the movie is focusing on his character, because it at times almost feels like they're molding him to be something that where this series could possibly move on forward from. But I think he does a good job. And some of the returning cast, like Kyle Richards as Lindsay Wallace and Will Patton as Officer Hawkins, they're not in it much, but it's nice to see them back again after Halloween Kills pretty much murdered the rest of the cast members of this series. But like I said, I think it's solid overall. I think people are going to enjoy it, but it is definitely going to be up to you to see, because it's going to divide some people for sure. That's about it for me, guys. If you have gotten a chance to see Halloween Ends, please let me know what you thought about it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews in the near future. I'll leave all my links below on where you can follow me and check out more of my reviews. And until next time, I will catch you all later.